what the straight line represents is basically this. Number one, you have the product. That's your first 10. 2, there's you. You're the second 10. 3 is your company, which is your third 10. 4th is your action threshold, right? Lowering a person's action threshold. And then lastly, you have that 5th core element, that key of the straight line, and it's called the pain threshold. And pain is essentially the invisible force that makes people take action. See, if someone's in massive pain, they'll take action even if they're not that certain. In fact, people will do almost anything if they're feeling extreme pain in the moment to get out of that pain. They'll take any action to get from pain into pleasure. Here, let me give you a perfect example here. This is a great story. I hate going to the dentist, and I had this problem with a tooth for years and years. First, I had a cavity that turned into a root canal, then another root canal. They just couldn't fix this damn tooth, right? And finally, the guy says, there are 2 different ways we can do that. First is a bridge. They put a bridge in your mouth, and the second way would be an implant. He goes, an implant's going to cost you a lot of money, like $4,000 or $5,000, but it'll last you for a lifetime. It'll be perfect and blah, 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 blah. So I said, all right, me, the low action threshold, how long is it going to take me? How much? He's like, well, it'll take 4 months. And, between all the surgeries, it's got to heal. I mean, the screw they put in's got to set in bone and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, 4 months? Now, what a disaster it is for a guy like me. I want instant gratification, right? So I imagine myself, now watch, I run the movie, and I imagine myself going back and forth to the dentist and back and forth and just imagining all the stuff I'm going to have to go through to actually get this done. And that's, by the way, a very powerful equation that I ran through my head. I want to tell you what it is, okay? It's called the energy in, benefits out equation. See, when it comes to taking action, we tend to do things. We tend to take actions that we believe are going to require very little energy up front and over the long term, but that have a very large payoff in terms of benefits. In other words, if you have to jump through 18 different hoops, give your left testicle, your firstborn, the whole 9 yards, then maybe, if you're lucky, you'll get a couple of measly benefits. Well, you're not going to be taking that sort of action so quickly if that's the deal, right? But on the other hand, if it's so simple to do, as in we do everything for you, it's just a question of some very basic information to get the account open, and then we do basically everything else for you. And then what you're going to be going to get here starting first thing tomorrow, and you start listing benefit A, benefit B, benefit C. If you do that, where you make it no big deal to get started, and you stack benefit after benefit after benefit, and then calmly and reasonably and out with even 1 ounce of pressure, you say, believe me, sir, you're going to be very, very impressed. Sound fair enough? Bam. If you do that, you're very prone to someone saying, yeah, boom, let's open up the account. Because it was very easy on the way in and lots of benefits attached to it, right? Conversely, if it's the other way around, we have to expend massive sums of energy, we tend not to take action unless there's even more massive benefits on the other side. Energy in, benefits out. I'll be saying this to you over and over again in this training, especially when we get to the looping module. But let's get back to this dentist for a second here. He's obviously not a very good salesperson because he's asking me essentially to spend all this energy for some, sounds like okay benefits, a lifetime teeth. I don't know, the bridge sounded okay too. So I'm like, nah, just give me the bridge. So he says, fine, great, and he goes through the whole thing of measuring my teeth up, making me bite down this way and turn my head that way and slide my jaw this way and that way, all sorts of energy expending, right? And then the bastards, like my father, right? When we get to the end, to my own shock and dismay, he says, oops, sorry, the bridge won't work. He goes, we're going to have to go with the implant instead. So I'm like, oh, my God. So at this point, what am I going to do? I say, fine, just get on with it. Go with the implant and give me the gas. I'm 15 years old. I figure get some free gas from the dentist. So he turns up the gas on me and starts doing this damn implant. It's like a 4-month process I have to go through, and he drills, and it's got to set, and then it's got to heal. And while it's in there healing, he's giving me these temporary crowns made of porcelain to fill the space, right? And this damn temporary keeps cracking and recracking because where it's situated in my mouth. And, I'm going crazy. I keep running back to the dentist, and every little meal I eat, and this little screw is sticking out. It's just a total pain in the butt, right? And finally, I get to this point where I'm just like so pissed off at the guy, and I go back and I say, listen, I say, can't you just make me a crown that is going to last, that won't crack? I don't care what this thing costs. And I'm sitting there really telling this guy that if you don't find me the right crown, I'm gone. And he says, yeah, actually I can give you this crown, but I have to get it made at a certain lab. And I said, great, how much? He says, $500. And I figure, well, I don't really even care because my decision-making strategy is, boom, I'm in pain, I can't take this. The 310s are basically already established here, right? My tooth sucks as it is. So it seemed like a no-brainer in this case, and I have a low action threshold to start, right? So bam, with my pain factor raised up that high, I'm like, yeah, it was a no-brainer, just do it. And then also on the energy side of the equation, remember, we have money, which is nothing more than stored energy from our past hard work. So after I ran all those decision-making strategies and future pacing strategies, all the possible outcomes, all together, and by that took me no more than 3 or 4 seconds, which is pretty typical for a human being with an action threshold like mine, right? For a decision of that magnitude of importance, 3 or 4 seconds. So I said to the guy, I don't ever want to come back here again, so just get me the industrial strength titanium model that's impossible to break. So the guy goes out and he gets this tooth made, right? And it's an unbelievable tooth, and he puts it in, fits like a glove. He puts it in there, smack, and that's that. So now I have this screw in my mouth, and from the implant with this temporary crown made of titanium that's covering it, but it's made beautifully and built to last, right? I have to go back now, though, and get the real implant, which is $900 more for the actual tooth, right? Which they get a screw in then, and that screw there, right? Now, let me ask you a question. You think I ever went back to put the permanent tooth in? No, I still have the temporary in there right now to this very day. You know why? No pain. Zero. Not an ounce of discomfort. No uncomfortability at all. So from my perspective, why would I want to go to the dentist? He wants to pull this thing out, right? And while the old one is still working fine, that's what I think at least. So from my point of view, I'm not going back. So now years and years, and here's where the story gets funny, years and years goes by, and this thing is really built to last. But finally, my partner, my girlfriend, she says to me, she actually recommends, which in her case is giving me an order, right? So she orders me, it's time, no, you got to get this thing taken out. And she's, boom, all aspects of my health, you got to become healthy, Jordan. She makes me an appointment with the dentist, okay? And she goes, you got to get that tooth taken care of now. So I'm like, all right, fine. And she actually finds a local dentist for me in the area where we live, okay, and she makes the appointment. Now, I need a cleaning anyway, so I figure, what the hell, and I give in, kill 2 birds at once. So, and I walk into this local dentist's office, pretty nice, very upscale, and I sit down in the chair, and he says, okay, let me look at your mouth. That's doing his dentist thing, all right? Gives me the full exam, he takes some x-rays, and he looks them on the screen, and then a few minutes later he goes, oh, okay, I see, here's your deal. Yes, I see the whole thing in there, that screw from your implant. He goes, do you know what brand of screw it is? I'm like, what? Screw? What are you talking about? He goes, well, it'll be helpful if you could find out what brand of screw it is. And I'm like, screw you. I mean, what do I know about brand of screw, right? He goes, well, maybe we could do it ourselves here, but it'd be helpful if you could just maybe call the old dentist and find out about the screw. Well, hello. I guess he didn't do any straight line training because that's an awful lot of energy for me to expend, right? I got to actually do something here. I mean, a research project on a screw and for the dentist. So I said, okay, yeah, I'll let you know if I come across anything. And he says, okay, great, let me give you a quote. Now, obviously, I was never going to do any research at all, right? But he comes back with his quote here, and he goes, here you go, Jordan. And he hands me a slip of paper, and on it is the cost, $2,900 to get the new tooth put in. And then he says to me, and he goes, oh, by the way, Jordan, do you know what kind of glue they use to get that temporary in? It's really good in there. It's a very fine temporary with great glue. And if it's the wrong type of glue, we're going to have to really hack that thing out of there if it's permanent. And I hate to have to wrench that thing out. And I'm like, good Lord. I mean, I'm sitting in this chair here imagining what that's going to feel like. He's actually future pacing my own pain right in front of me. I'm thinking, maybe I'll get lucky and they'll just, put some solvent in there maybe and dissolve the glue. I don't even know at this point, right? And then Dr. Death plows on and goes, all right, so it's $2,900. We can do this for you in 2 sittings, then maybe a third one just to readjust this tooth. What do you think? And guess what I said? I said, let me think about it. To which he replies, okay, great. Let me know when you've decided and I'll schedule you in. And that was that, and I walked out. And I go home and I'm going to think about it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm never going to go back to this guy ever again. You know why? Listen, I still have this temporary in there right now. It's not the money. I have enough money in the bank to get lots of stored energy in my bank. I can get as many teeth as I want. But why on earth would I want to expend all that energy on doing that? With him especially. For starters, he did the absolute worst thing that a salesperson or an influencer could ever do. He said to me, it's going to hurt you when I pull this thing out right now. He instantly made me in short-term pain right now. If I made a decision, he's going to put me in short-term pain. And when I'm future-pacing this whole idea myself, I'm saying to myself, what's the worst that could possibly happen if I leave this thing in? My movie says, Nothing really. It all seems okay. It's a great temporary titanium. You know, my gut says, yeah, it'll stay in there forever. So screw it. I'll wait until what? I'll wait until it hurts. Then I'll go back and get it taken care of. That's what I'm going to do. Now, let's rerun this scenario a different way. What if this guy would have understood even the simplest aspects of the straight line system? What if he would have said to me, listen, Jordan, you know, I understand the temporary seems to be working well right now, but let me just tell you a few of the problems that you're going to run into over the long term if you don't take this thing out. And by the way, I'm sure there are 3 or 4 things he could have said to me that were perfectly ethical, perfectly legitimate, because there are, in fact, reasons why I should have got this thing taken out. I mean, it's a temporary, it's not a permanent. He could have said, you know, Jordan, you travel all over the world, you know, just imagine yourself being in Zambia or Zimbabwe, and all of a sudden the tooth finally cracks, gives way. What are you going to do then, Jordan? You know, you can have some witch doctor put a new tooth in. Just imagine the discomfort then. I mean, all this guy had to do was future pace me this much. Say, you know, listen, Jordan, this thing could really blow up into a big problem for you. I've seen this happen many times before, and it's really a painful experience. Let's just get this thing done now. Believe me, you'll be glad you did. Make sense? I'd be like, yeah, great. Here's my credit card. I was right on the spot without hesitation. But instead, I walked out with his business card and a $2,800 estimate from someone I would never, ever call again. But now let me give you a bit of a different scenario. Let's just say that I got home and 2 weeks later, I bite into something and bam, I get this terrible pain. Wow, my tooth cracks and I'm in mortal pain. You think I'll be running back to the dentist and getting it done right away? Yeah, of course I would. See, if I feel pain, I act. If I don't feel pain, I'll only act if you present me something that fits just the right way. And that, my friend, is called your pain threshold, which is your 5th and final element of the straight line, namely, how much pain you're currently feeling right now, and will this product help me resolve it? Will it alleviate my pain?